Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I was reading an article the other day in regards to my favorite TV show, The Wire. Now, this show article kind of discussed spin-offs and things like that. So in my mind, I was thinking interestingly, which character would have the best spin-off? Now, as a fan, I don't care whose spin-off they would have had, whether it be Ronnie Perlman from the DA's office or shoot, even one of the lower tier police officers. I just want to see the cast again and be able to see the greatness of the writers that David Simon and others put together. But as far as the show goes, like I don't really care about who has a spinoff. Like I said, I just want to see the spinoff or be able to see the area again. So I compiled a list of people who I thought would have a great spinoff and what they might address in that spinoff. Because we know spinoffs of especially of great TV shows are for the true fans. Now, when you think about the Breaking Bad series and the spinoff of the lawyer that they had, Saul, Better Call Saul. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of Breaking Bad like I am The Wire, so I wasn't really in tune with it. I watched a couple episodes and I kind of put it away. I've been hearing great things about it, and I'll probably revisit it later. But I wasn't a huge fan of it. But I believe with The Wire, I'll be very in tune with it because a lot of ancillary things I'm very familiar with, and I'll be able to catch on a lot with the pieces that they put out there and the breadcrumbs that they give you. But characters like Bubbles, like we had pieces of his storyline, like we knew about his sister, and he had a kid with a mom that moved away because he wasn't fit to be with the kid. So we knew pieces of Bubbles, but did we really know how did he get the way that he was? So that would be an interesting spinoff to see Bubbles, from younger years to how he got to where he got to. Because we know he had a very great story in the 5 seasons that they had, but we didn't get enough pieces around him to really know how he got the way he was. We saw how he changed the way he became, and how productive he came at the end. Because he always had elements of wanting to get clean and do things like that. But it would be nice to see the story that he had prior to what led him to be that way. One of my favorite characters, most prolific character on The Wire, Brother Muzon. So we know him as a brother from the nation. He was a hitman. He was all these different things, but we really didn't know how he got that way, especially with with his religion and how devout he was. How did he become that way, and how he got to that character? Because we didn't really have a lot. Only thing we knew he had a lot of bodies. We didn't know that where he really grew up. You know, I think he was from the DC area or something where he was working out of, but we didn't really get more information on him. And it would be very interesting to see that side of him because did he answer to somebody? Did he have somebody above him? Did he have people below him? Who was his family? And how did he get into that job as a hitman? Because we didn't get that story. The only thing we knew is Brother Muzon was in town, so somebody was going down. That's the only thing we really knew. And it would have been interesting to see if we had more information on Brother Muzon, but we never got that. So that was a good one. So Omar, which is probably the most fascinating one, but unfortunately Michael K. Williams is no longer with us. But it would have been interesting to get a spinoff, and it's all hypothetical. So I would have been nice to have a spinoff of Omar because there were little short clips on the wire. I can't remember where it was from, but kind of showed Omar as a kid and things that he was doing. But we didn't really get much story from him other than we knew he was in a foster system when he grew up. We knew he had a brother, No Hard Anthony, that was causing havoc and the terrorists and things like that. But we didn't get any glimpse into his parents. We didn't get any glimpse into his childhood, really. We didn't know how he got into that lifestyle. And we know how his story ends, but we don't know how it begins. And that's why I'm a huge fan of 50 Cent's Raising Canaan show, because we know how his story ended, but we didn't know how it began. And that spinoff served that great purpose. And we get to know his family members, his uncles, his mother, his friends growing up and things like that. What shaped Canaan to be Canaan? So it would be nice to know what shaped Omar to be that way. Was he influenced by someone? Was it just in his nature? Because his brother was kind of the same kind of guy. But Omar was that great character, one of the greatest characters in TV history, not just The Wire, but TV history. So it'd been nice to have more of a background or get more in-depth analysis of what Omar was or how he come to be what he came to be. Because we know his story kind of influenced Michael Lee's story on the show, which they really didn't have a strong connection with each other. They really didn't know each other. They knew of Michael knew of Omar, but Michael became Omar at the end of this series. You know, a lot of people became other people and took over those roles subconsciously, of course. But and then speaking of likable characters, another character that's no longer with us is Prop Joe's character, which would have been a great spinoff because either whether they did the spinoff in his now actuality life, well, his current place in the wire when he was owning the repair shop and things like that, or if they showed his childhood as well to show us how he became Prop Joe. Because Proposition Joe always gave out a proposition, he always gave out a dilemma. So was that something that his parents did, or something he learned from somebody else? Or did he just become that? And a lot of Prop Joe's character was rooted into kind of conniving ways. He always like backdoored people and made these sly deals and things like that. So imagine the deals that we would see off camera or on the spinoff that we didn't see on the show because you know it wasn't enough room to show everything. But the deals that he made with Avon and the deals he made with Stringer, the deals he even made with Omar, which was very, you know, a crazy concept. It ended up his propositions ended up being his demise on the show. So it'd be nice to see where he got that personality from or those behaviors from, because he had a very unique character that kind of played the middleman for everybody. So if anybody had beef, he was kind of like the peacemaker, or if he had a problem, he would solve it for you. So did he grow up with that, like a teacher or a parent that actually taught him that? That would be interesting on a spinoff. Um, but oh, and how did he get the relationship with the Greeks that he got? Because we know he was a very smart man, a very strategic man. He played a lot of chess. And how did he get that relationship with the Greeks? That would be interesting to know as well. But moving on to the next character, who I think would have the most amazing story, the most dramatic story, the most interesting story would be Senator Clay Davis. Now we know Clay Davis is probably the most corrupt politician in all of um, TV shows and probably movies as well, because he was even a corrupt mayor in one of my favorite shows, the Showtime show Your Honor, with Michael Cranston, who plays um, Walter White from the TV series Breaking Bad. Clay Davis was in that show as a mayor. He was corrupt as well. But in The Wire, he's a very corrupt politician who uses his powers and his position to position himself better financially, and that's his greatest story, or his motive for doing everything on the show. It always comes with a price. It's not about politics or anything about that. It's about services rendered, as they say. So his story would be very good, and it's similar to Councilman Tate having a spinoff, which never came out on the Power series. They both have corruptness to them, and they both are trying to get most money as they can and most power as they can. So Clay Davis' story, like a spinoff of him trying to be president of the United States, or seeing his story coming up, would be very interesting because all of the deals that he made with the criminals on the show and all the deals that he made with the politicians on the show, it'll be interesting to see, or even funny to see the things that he's done to get where he's gotten to, especially seeing him in college or seeing him and if he went to law school or something like that. A lot of different things would be funny for Clay Davis. So I think Clay Davis' story might be the most interesting and definitely the most hilarious story that would have for a Wire spinoff, especially with him working with Mayor Royce, who was also kind of corrupt as well, especially when it came to the free zones and things like that in season 3. But that's my choice for the best spinoff. Tell me what your thoughts are for a spinoff for The Wire. And until next time, I'll see you next time.